Hello and welcome to this month's edition of My Cyber Why. This is the podcast where we talk to people from around the world about what they're doing to help us stay safe in this cyber world. So there's a lot of headlines about scary things that are happening, but what you may not know is all the great work that's being done by people in the field every day to help keep us safe. And today's guest, I'm very glad to announce, is Chan Ko, who is joining us from Bridgewater State University, where he's currently a student in, is it cybersecurity? What's the full name of the program?
Computer science, but I'm taking more courses focused on cybersecurity and data mining.
Okay, great. I'm looking forward to this conversation. So as you know, there are 4 questions, and the first question is, who is Chan? Who are you?
Okay, so who am I? That's a very good question. I actually do ask this question to myself too. Who am I really? Well, first of all, I could say that I'm a graduate student at Bridgewater State University who majors in computer science. I'm highly interested in the field of cybersecurity and information security. I could say something like things that are really interesting about myself, I would say. I'm originally from South Korea. I immigrated to Ghana, West Africa, when I was 8, and I lived there till I graduated my high school. And after I graduated high school, I decided to come to America. So my freshman year of college was my first time being in America, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, had a lot of culture shocks here and there. So I'm living in Massachusetts, and we have this Boston accent, and it was really hard for me to comprehend at first because I really did not know what people were saying. Yeah, and I met many professors, many friends who really formed me to a person who I am today.
Are you developing your own version of a Boston accent? You go to Dunks.
Dunks, yeah. It was. I keep saying. People were asking me, "Are you gonna come with me to Dunks?" I was like, "What are you dunking?" I don't even know what you were saying. Especially with the subway. One time I was taking this red line to Harvard, and the operator was like, Harvard Square, and I was like, I don't even understand what this guy was saying. So I missed that station. Went all the way to the end of the line, and I had to come back. That was a fun experience. Yeah. I can say that it's a good memory because it's past.
That's right. You made it. You survived. Okay, so you came to Bridgewater. Why did you pick to come to school in the United States, and what is it that you're working on now in your graduate studies?
Okay. So at first, I really did not know what to do. At the end of my high school, so when I was a senior, my counselor, my advisor came up to me and she asked me, "So Chen, what do you want to do?" And I was like, what do I really want to do? Because I was more focused on graduating instead of what am I going to do when I grow up? What college do I want to go? I was really just focused on, I'm going to study this and graduate as soon as possible. So when I really tried to think about what I really wanted to do, I think it took me about 3 months to decide what I wanted to do. And at first it was actually writing. It was English writing. Okay. So I came here to Bridgewater as an English writing concentration and education because Bridgewater is known as the teacher school. Yeah. So that was my major goal, to become a teacher. I still do want to become a teacher, but more of a professor now. So when I first came here, well, I chose America because why not? Never been to America, and people around me always told me that it is a mecca of education. You want to go there, you want to get your degree there because the pool's so big that you're going to experience so much. Wherever I stayed in South Korea is a tiny country too. Where I stayed in Ghana is not tiny, but where I stayed, my Korean community was relatively tiny. And people around me, especially my parents, really wanted me to experience the bigger world. And I too also wanted to experience the bigger world. So I decided to move to America. And because I wanted to teach, I came to Bridgewater State University. And first year, I spent my time taking English classes. And then I realized that, oh, if I keep doing writing as my major, I feel like I'm not gonna like writing in the future. I felt stressed, and I just didn't want to do it because it was overwhelming to me. I just wanted to keep it as a hobby. I still write today, and I love writing, but I just wanted to keep it more like my treasure box of memory. I wanted to keep it that way so that it's sincere all the time that I wanted to do it. Yeah. And so I wanted to do something challenging, but also something that I have background with, something that I am confident with, and I chose computer science. Well, I thought more about IT at first because I didn't even know what computer science was, got into that field, and I realized that, well, it's something more complex than IT, where we would usually use third-party products or final products. It was more of a place where you have to create from nothing. Yeah, which was great because it did really motivate my this dead creativity that I had. Something I had to actually do it. It did really make it was really fun, and it is really fun. And undergrad, even till junior, I still did not know what I specifically wanted to do with this degree of computer science. And then one day I had a really dire interest in cybersecurity. And I started getting into that field, read a bunch of books, looked at a lot of podcasts, and looked at also a lot of YouTube videos. And I also went to MIT and Harvard and other schools around to get into webinars or seminars that I provided for free for students. And it did really ignited that passion that I really want to get into this field of cybersecurity and information assurance. Now in graduate college, my major goal is to write a more thorough research than I wrote back while I was in undergrad. And yeah, my ultimate goal is to teach, and I want to become a professor. And my real goal is to spread this awareness of cybersecurity and how vulnerable the society is. To something that we pretty much have it everywhere in our life. Yeah, I really want to plant that awareness to students who I meet or people that I meet around. And that's my major goal. I still don't know what specifically I want to do when I grow up, but yes.
Yeah, well, a few of us do. So don't worry, there's time. Yeah, so you mentioned the interest in it was it awakened creativity, which I thought was a really interesting place. A lot of people think that writing is extremely creative, and it is. And I'm actually an English major, and I fell in love with computers before I went to college, and I just didn't think it would be a very creative career. I thought that writing would be a more creative career. But I found very quickly that computers, and especially the cybersecurity side, was actually where there was so much interest, because you have to figure out, how do I build this thing securely? How do I think the way that an attacker is going to think? What are some of the things that really sparked you as you found that passion and said, I'm going to move? Oh, what aspects of cybersecurity were really the parts that drew you in?
Well, I could say shame on me in this aspect, but while I was writing, I realized that one day I was reading through my writings that I wrote 2 years before, and realized that the formality was very similar. The format itself, the texture of all the bodies that I wrote and all that, I realized that some of the phrase was even duplicating, and I realized that, wow, my creativity is dead. I can't believe that I have been just abusing it. It's a self-plagiarism that I did it to myself. Yeah. Which I feel very shameful about it. But when I looked at the aspect of computer science, I realized that it's so fast changing. I learn something today, the next day could be completely different. And I think that's so interesting for a person. I'm a very sporadic person, so I love planning something out of a spark.
Yeah.
I do like to plan ahead, but within those plans, I also like to do little tiny stuff that will really excite me and get me going.
Yeah. Spontaneity.
And
Yeah.
the computer science is really that it has all the aspect that really excites me, because one time I was getting bored with this while I was learning about network and circuit and all that. I was getting a little bored, and the next day I realized that this chapter talks about completely different stuff that I learned from yesterday, and I was like, wow, this is very refreshing. This is very interesting. Uh, yeah, and the fact that computer science and the knowledge that I gain from computer science, it's more of a double-edged sword. So it could harm me, but it could also benefit me, and I really like that. It's not that I like Jeopardy, but
Yeah.
I just like the fact that it could be used in such various ways.
Yeah, and that's a very true about cybersecurity is that, what we need to understand and how to protect things is also what the attackers are looking at and understanding, and they're figuring out how to dismantle what we've built because of because it's these two opposing sides. So it's a very vibrant space to be in. Why the teaching part though? So let's talk about your cyber why. You're studying you're in graduate school now. You're going to go on to get a PhD, focusing on cybersecurity and information assurance with the intent to teach, at least at this point, to teach. Why? What's the passion to teach cyber?
Well, I would say I learn from experiences. This has been stagnant throughout since I was young. I always learn from experiences. Sometimes I do make mistakes. In fact, many times I do make mistakes, but because I make so many mistakes, I'm not afraid of making mistakes. And I do value mistakes because I know that mistakes do make me better. And I have seen that, and I've proven to others too. I've proven to myself too. And there were a couple of incidents, and I'll get that to it. And those incidents really gave me hurtful memories, but also gave me valuable experience. This is all in terms of getting hacked, all related to cybersecurity. And my ultimate goal is to really just spread this awareness, as I said before, to people. And looks like, professor, I want to profess this. I want to be a doctor, and I do want to write book about my experience and how that experience really motivated me, how that experience really initiated my passion in this field. And it feels like I'm pouring all of my life into this interest. And to me, I believe that as a professor is a very good vocation to share this experience, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
So you got inspired, and as a teacher, you want to inspire others in the practice of,
yes.
of cybersecurity and keeping themselves safe and their privacy.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I could definitely do that in a different way. I don't really necessarily have to be a teacher to inspire people, but people have. This is all about cybersecurity. Is all about trust, and I've seen, even I respect professors that teach me, and I also feel that if I'm a professor and I share this experience to my students or my fellow colleagues or other people around, I feel like people would take that into consideration easier.
It's possible, there's a huge cybersecurity skills gap right now, and there's also an issue with hiring enough great teachers and professors at universities. So the more cybersecurity professors, passionate cybersecurity professors that are out there teaching the next generation, the better educated and prepared that generation is going to be cyber safe and cyber aware. So it's a great place to start, and you may, even if you love it, it could be your whole career. And if you don't, there's lots of other things to do in the cyber field. So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, so there's no way to go wrong, basically, with it.
Yeah.
All right, so our last question is a little bit more free form, and it's, how would you like people to get more involved, or as a soon to be professor of cybersecurity, what would you like people to know about cyber?
Well, I can really say that cyber, mentioned before, it's a double-edged sword. Depending on how you use it, it could really hurt you or it could benefit you. Oh yeah, speaking of which, the major incident that happened that really motivated me to get into cybersecurity field was that happened in 2016. My PayPal account got hacked one day. Yeah, and someone made a purchase through eBay using my PayPal account, but this person was very smart with this, because this person bought prepaid gift cards using my PayPal through eBay. And PayPal's what was it? Was it refund and fraud policy says that if it's a prepaid, if someone purchased prepaid products, prepaid gift cards using the PayPal account, they cannot get into investigation. It's out of their domain of investigation. So this person was really smart, and I was like, wow, this guy actually knows what step I will take, exactly what step I will take as a reaction when things happen. And this person already blocked all those ways. It kind of like I got blockaded by this perpetrator who hacked my account, and I could do nothing. And I just I lost a couple $100s, which couldn't be refunded. And not only the money itself, my information was hacked, and so I have a program, it's a end product that helps me track how many spam mails I had. And from 2016 to 2018, the amount of spam mails increased exponentially. And having said that, I got hacked.
Do you think that they're connected?
I really feel that it's connected. Yeah, because you know how like every time I look a product in Amazon, it also shows in Facebook ads. So they're all interconnected. They're checking my cookie and they're tracking everything that I'm doing, pretty much, because we always tend to, if I'm getting how people can get involved in more, we always tend to trust these mega companies that are around way too much. I mean, sure, like Amazon, Target, or other places. Sure, they're a big company, they're a big corporate, and probably they have hundreds of people who are managing other people's account. Security also is probably stronger than other organizations, but people often trust too much. And that could bring a big problem, especially in terms of agreements and consents. Well, nobody really reads the entire agreement, but we always tend to just click accept, because why? We just want to proceed to the next step. And clicking that could be very dangerous. I read this book, and this book is titled Offensive Countermeasures, The Art of Active Defense, and I believe it's by John Strand. I think it's John Strand. Yeah, the author's name is John Strand, and he tells me about, the author tells about how, even if a hacker hacks you, you can't just go and simply hack that person back, because it could go against the law. Right. Yeah, like and be very careful. Yeah, I actually try to do that. Like I used 2 laptops to do a DDoS attack on each other, and I broke the internet service provider's router. Yeah, and Xfinity called me, and I was like, oh, I was just doing a little experiment, and they kind of like scolded me for that and all that. Yeah, so there are a bunch of Title 18 and all that. I remember this because they told me that I violated Title 18. I was like, oh, okay. There's so many rules and laws that we're prone to violate, and it's so important for everyone to use this powerful technology more gingerly than we tend to, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, so if people could not take it for granted, just
Absolutely,
you're sharing this, you're
convenient.
writing that, read and understand how the companies are going to be using your data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so convenient. Without cyber, without internet, I really don't think I'm not addicted to internet, but it's so interconnected right now that I can't get my mails. I don't even know what my professor might send me as an assignment. We're so heavily dependent on internet nowadays, but that could be very dangerous. But really, there's no choice of someone getting off the internet, especially for like it really helped me. Internet really helped me, especially when I was in Ghana, because I suffer from homesickness. But internet, Facebook, during that time, it was actually MySpace, but it really helped me to connect with people back in Korea, my grandparents and other people. It really helped me. But nowadays, I realized that it did hurt me a lot too. And I really want people to know that, yes, it is convenient, but be careful.
Right. Understand that. Yeah, it's not entire. It needs to be used carefully. I mean, we talk about a shared responsibility model where providers have to commit to certain amounts of things that will deliver for customers, but customers also have to, as one of my colleagues said, like say, participate in their own rescue. Understand, that if you're handing out your password to everybody, for example, everyone's going to have a password, and that could have repercussions. So, well, thank you so much, Chan. This has been a great. Yeah, it's been a great conversation. I'm looking forward to hearing how your studies progress, and I think everybody here is rooting for the next generation to also be cyber aware. So, thank you for stepping up and being one of the people that's going to educate them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for watching. We will see you next time on My Cyber Why.